I'm here, Monterey Car Week. We're at Laguna Seca Raceway during Saturday, which is a really busy day at the track. I'm here with Rial Barnett from B-Sedan. We're here with this really special 1969 BMW 2002. Tell us a little bit about the car.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. This is the Hyde Park number 34. It was built in '69 from BMW, but became a race car in 1970. For those of you that don't know, Hyde Park BMW was a dealership in Los Angeles. They had a two-car race team, the 34 and 35. Jack Fredericks owned Hyde Park Motors. His son Carl Fredericks actually raced at TISA, and then they went into a two-car race team in 1970. This car has more Trans Am history and ARR history, basically the runoffs, than any BMW 2002 in North America, other than the 35 car.
And who has a 35 car? Is that
Tim Breck from Breck BMW?
Okay,
yeah, so down in San Diego, we're kind of neighbors. It's funny that the cars ended up so close to each other.
There you go, it's meant to be.
When I bought the car from Steve Walker, another BMW fan and collector and racer, it was all white. That was pretty much how Rug Cunningham raced it when he acquired the car in '85 for the second time. I bought it in '21, as you said, and I took it back to its most famous livery from '71, '72 Trans Am series. The car has 7, maybe 8. We're trying to confirm the 8th Trans Am race. 4 ARRC appearances. In 1970, it set the lap record at Road Atlanta. It was over a second faster than the P2 Alpha, and it was driven by Nels Miller at the time.
Amazing. Yeah,
So,
O2s have always been really fast cars in their series. Take me through. So when the car was white, so this looks like it's all hand painted and everything done, just like period would have been. So how long of a process was that to kind of get the car back to the way it was?
Well, that's a great question, and it's a funny story because when we bought the car, like I said, it was all white, but it had like wrong parts. It wasn't true to 1970 anymore. It had been owned by 5 BMW dealerships, starting with Hyde Park, and then Rug Cunningham, and then Continental Motors in Oceanside, and then Bakersfield BMW, then back to Rug Cunningham. And every time they owned it, they made it faster for that period. So it had coilovers, it had the strut bar going across, it had a roll cage that went into the engine bay. None of that was legal in 1970, so we had to rip all that out. And then
you wanted to make it for the period when the car had the livery.
That's
so
right.
Not only is the livery correct, every part of the car is back to the way it was. It took the car back to time.
That's right.
Awesome. So show me the fenders, show me some of the special stuff.
So when we bought the car, it had Alpina front fenders, but it didn't have Alpina rear fenders.
Gotcha.
So if you want to get fenders, there's only one person on the planet to go to, and that's Paul at Son of Cobra.
Yeah.
All of his stuff is carbon fiber. No carbon fiber allowed in historic, so he made us special fiberglass versions of the Alpina. And Hyde Park, they were the first Alpina distributor on the West Coast. So they took what was off the shelves in the parts department and put it on the cars. And I believe they were the first real North America racing effort for BMW, because as you know, BMW really didn't pay attention to US racing. So they were a two-car race team. They had a transporter and a pretty good sized budget. And then they picked up Macmillan Ring-Free Oil as a sponsor in '71 and '72. So the car, you could see it in old photographs racing against the BREs and Horsequack.
So is this Inca? Is it an Inca
Inca
orange?
over Atlantic Blau.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
both period colors for that time.
That's right.
As well.
And coincidentally, that's the color of the Macmillan oil can.
There you go.
It's orange and blue, so that must have been why they went that color.
So anytime you have a fender like this, especially on a race car, you got to have wheels to fill out the fender. And so tell me the story about these wheels.
So, I love the Steelies. I love the old Alpina wheels. They're 18 pounds or something like that?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I had talked to Forrest, Cougar Works, and Forrest was in development of these wheels. And I said, well, let's take them from development and put them on the track. And I ordered 8. And I think they weigh 11 and change.
And these are the Lemmerfelgen style wheels with the triangle hole.
You know better than I do, but they're on a BBS barrel and they weigh like 11 and change, so you save 7 pounds. And I've had a couple of incidences and the wheels held up. So Forrest is, is all about craftsmanship and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But what we also had to do is we had to change the roll cage because the roll cage had been chopped up and modified. So coincidentally, this guy just showed up here, Mono, from Manofied. I took Ken Blasko was kind of the quarterback of the whole restoration. And Ken introduced me to Mono. And Mono, when he took it down to a bare metal, the nose was off because they had a late nose. And it literally, I wish I could, maybe I'll send you a picture so you can include how naked it got. And then I sent Mono 30 photographs of in period, and he replicated the cage from back then, and he found the anchor points. We had photographs from the top, but we didn't have any of the photographs of where everything anchored, and he was able to find all of that. So
and that's a labor of love from Mono and from you to be able to make it match.
Right, and Mono was insistent on, let's get the right tubing gauge that they had back then, let's weld it like they welded it back then, and it's a piece of artwork, and I'm forever grateful, not just because he's standing there behind me right now, but I'm forever grateful for guys like Ken and Mono and Paul and Forrest, because I had about a 9-month window to restore this car to get it ready for velocity. And once we got it ready for velocity, that would have been October, I think it was October of 22, November, and we started the restoration, I think, in April or in March of that same year. And we were literally putting on the last decals from, I forget the decal shop, like these here. We got, this is how the sequence of how those were back in period.
And it's cool you guys had those photos to reference.
Totally.
There's a poster, I think, of the car. There's a few things. And then, last but not least, let's talk about the motor. Let's talk about what engine's in the car. What's done to that.
2-liter motor, the 40 DCOE side draft. We haven't opened it up because it's been a strong motor from Steve Walker from day one. But it's probably getting a little bit tired now. But
what horsepower you feel like the car's making?
I'm guessing it's probably at 180. I'm out there with 911s yesterday with 280, and I'm on their bumper. Trying to get them to flag me by,
just like in period.
Yeah, exactly, just like in period. But I have to give credit to Best of Show in Escondido, because when Paul at Son of Cobra was done, I took it to them, and what I learned is Hyde Park dealership had a body shop, and they would pay hippies to come and do the lettering in the early 70s. So I told the artist, it doesn't have to be perfect, I just want it spelled right. And you can tell the brush marks and whatnot, but everything is hand painted, and then
but that adds to the cool factor for me, because that makes it so authentic with what you're trying to do, and I think that's important. Authenticity to me is the most important. A lot of people restore cars. They may use newer paint, they may use newer stickers or newer things, but the authenticity is the cool factor in this. And it goes beyond just having fun out here and being safe, of course. I mean, there's a great seat in the car, so you're safe. The cage is period, but it's safe. But it's authentic, so that's the cool thing for me to come and see. With all the stuff, most of the stuff is here, it takes that same thought process into it.
It really is being, I was blessed to have so many like-minded people, and I was almost like barbelled because I had all these incredible craftsmen on one side, willing to do whatever it took to help, and then I had on the other end, Jeff Klein, who raced the car, introduced me to Joel Martin, who was the crew chief, introducing me to Carl Fredericks. And I could get more photographs and more stories.
And just ask questions about the car that you have now.
And they were just so helpful and grateful that some nut job like me cared about the cars as much as they did. And it was really cool. Finally, Jeff Klein and I were able to partner and race together. We did an enduro with Vara with 6 B-Sedans with Trans Am history back in March, and Jeff Klein suited back up again and got in the car and drove it for the second half of the enduro.
And that's amazing.
And I had goosebumps every lap.
And so here at Laguna Seca for Monterey Car Week, so what series are you here? What are you competing in today? At 4 o'clock, what's the race?
So a lot of people ask me, why aren't you in the saloon group? And they won't put me in the saloon group because I have flares and it's a 2-liter. But they want the car here because of its history, and I'm grateful that they made room for me. So they placed me in the FI Manufacturer Championship run group from 61 to 75. So there's probably 7 or 8 911s, anywhere from 2 to 2.5 liters, and I'm out there having fun with. But by lap 4, I'm in my rearview mirror because there's these, you know, supercars that are flying by, Porsche 910, Marches, and so on.
Crazy.
Coming closing speed or twice my.
So it's kind of an all-encompassing class.
Yeah.
In order to have participation from that, you know, group or that period.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then also the interior, we wanted to make it true to the Trans Am. So we have door cards, and then the gauge oil temperature and pressure, and then if you even catch the odometer, it's 2002 and 34 miles.
Awesome. And some of the Trans Am rules were a lot of the cars had to keep the factory interiors,
That's right.
the door cards and all of that, to keep the cars more true to the street cars, because they're trying to sell cars by racing them. So they want them to look as much as possible like a street car, which is again cool because it makes the car look more finished. And to me, when you see it, you're like, okay, it's 02. You know, even if you don't know much about the car, you see everything there.
Yeah. So, and I even sourced an Alpina tack face.
There you go.
Yeah. So just little details like that is like, why not? You know,
That's the fun of it.
If you can add that little touch. And I like it when I get a message from somebody saying, hey, I noticed you did the Alpina three gauge cluster. And because nobody's doing a real dash, they're doing metal or whatever, but this car deserves.
Well, that's the fun of it, and the details matter. They always matter to me when I'm building a car, and it's cool to meet other people where that's the most important, you know, one of the most important things about the car. All right, so we have a super long day here at Laguna Seca. At 4 o'clock, we're going to get some video of Rial out on the track. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure to check out B-Sedan.com. Make sure to look on Instagram, check out this car. He also has some really cool in-case stuff as well. So we'll see you guys next time.